Hello and welcome to the Optimize Show. Thank you so much for watching. Brand new episodes every Wednesday morning. Appreciate you being here. On the Optimize Show, what we try to do is bring you cutting edge information, best practices from best in-class companies to help you optimize your business. Today I have on the show a great guest that is going to really help you. Incredible, massively successful company for 100+ years. Today on the show, Edward Maier, and you go by Ed Maier.
Yeah.
Maier, yeah. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you, David.
Appreciate you being here.
Great to be here.
So you are the CEO and president of GW Lisk.
Correct.
Which is this gem of a company in Clifton Springs, New York, and I, I've learned a lot about the company, and it really, your company seems like it is Clifton Springs. I mean, if we took GW Lisk out of Clifton Springs, what would be left, right? It's kind of like you're like the Corning of Corning, right?
Right. There's a hospital there, major hospital.
Because of you guys. Didn't you guys build it though?
I think the owner who passed away in 2013 put a lot of his own money into that hospital to make it kind of what it is today.
Yeah, but just I want to talk a little bit about the history because it's such an impressive run, right? 100+ years, and so quickly, GW Lisk, you are a global leader in design and manufacturing of custom solenoids, valves, sensors, flame arrestors, and more. Now, for non-engineering people, for the laymen and women, what are those things? What do you guys do?
Well, I would say, most of the things that move require a device, such as you just mentioned. And if we look at where our products end up today, they, serve basically the transportation industry. So there's barely anything that flies that doesn't have a Lisk component on it for one way or other. And, these components would be used to actuate landing gear, for instance, the flight control surfaces. We're in emission controls for heavy-duty diesels that help make our air cleaner. We're in defense products as well, and some of the things that are emerging recently with space. We're on a lot of the different launches in both. They call the launch vehicle itself that provides the thrust to move payloads in space. And with our acquisition of Island Components Group, we're now in the payload area too. We supply components for payload. So they're the kind of things, the parts that nobody really sees, but the day-to-day devices and systems we use couldn't operate without them.
Right. From what I understand, and you kind of said it, every airplane has at least one part from Lisk. Is that correct?
We think so. Yeah. Helicopters, fixed wing, commercial aircraft, defense, type aircraft.
Isn't that amazing? Right, right in the Greater Rochester, New York area, and there's so many gems here that like wow, who knew, right?
Exactly, and even if you'd come to visit us, you would see our address is 2 South Street, and you get up to 2 South Street, and there's a yellow house there. But you don't know that behind that's a 300,000 square foot factory kind of nestled in this valley. So
right, you kind of fit in where you can.
Fits it right in there.
Yeah. That's great. And so tell us a little bit about the history. Now I know I believe it officially started in 1882, and then it had kind of a restart a few years later, right? With actually GW Lisk starting the company over again, right? Maybe tell us a little about the history of the company.
Well, that 1882 was, it's interesting, the history. So in 1910, George Washington Lisk broke off from his partners who went up and actually moved the company to Canandaigua. He stayed in Clifton Springs, which was his home, and formed GW Lisk. And the company initially was building flatware, pots and pans, utensils, things like fly sprayers and various sheet metal type items. And then GW, his daughter inherited the company, and his daughter had a son named Drew Morris. Drew went to World War II and became a flight engineer, and he was on B-29s. After the war, he came back and he became the principal of GW Lisk, and basically that became his company, and really I think started our, going from the bakeware pots and pans into the more commercial and industrial type products like the components for aircraft.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we got started. And I think we still make a solenoid that's probably used on some defense aircraft, but we've been making it for like 60 years now. So,
right.
We don't quite know where it goes, but it shows you the longevity of some of that stuff and actually the quality and ingenuity of the designs.
Yeah, yeah.
Even way back then.
Yeah. Well, what an interesting twist, and it is a little bit similar to Corning's story because they were in bakeware as well, right? And,
yeah.
and they started, now they're doing something completely different. So
yeah.
Adaptability, right?
It is. It's a key thing, isn't it, in business? The world moves and you got to move with it.
Yep, absolutely.
Maybe ahead of it's the better thing, right?
Now, you have a fair amount of employees. What's the current number?
Well, it's interesting. In Clifton Springs, we're about 650. Mm-hmm. We have about 50 in China. We have a division there that we've had since early 2000s. We have about 150 in Ireland. We have a plant there. Now about 40 down in Long Island, and I would say in Costa Rica with these two acquisitions we just talked about, we probably have about 700 down there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, we're looking at
1,500
yeah,
globally.
Yeah. Now, you've been CEO for about 10 years, is that
about
right?
10 years, just under 10.
Yeah.
10 in January next year.
Yeah. And, so I like tons of respect for a person like you who is able to keep that all together, right? I mean, my mind, we all have our superpowers, right? But my mind gets boggled at like, there is so much going on, in my opinion, right? Of all the different products, all the different divisions. I mean, from Ireland to China, right?
Oh, yeah, it's a big one. And, we had the pandemic kind of twirl in there just for thrills. Right?
Yeah. You didn't plan for that? That was
we had a disaster recovery plan, that we never thought. It's in a book, right? And then we really had to use it.
It was like dust it off, right?
Dust it off, and it worked. It really worked.
Oh, that's great. So you kind of did plan for a pandemic. Because I joke, that I would have loved to have been in the 2019 strategic planning meeting, and someone said, well, what if we have a pandemic, right? Oh, whatever, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was actually part of those, right? Any disaster recovery has that pandemic, and everybody's like, no, we don't have to deal with that. But
right, yeah.
Sure enough.
Yeah. But so, what are some of, like, how do you keep that all together as a leader? I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not inspiring the people to want to, like, really be excited about what they're doing and be engaged, and I know you have people that have been working there for many, many years.
Right.
What are some of the things that Lisk does, and you kind of instigate to make sure that people are just really engaging and loving what they do?
Right. Well, it starts in my book and from my experience with a strategic planning process, right? And we do that every year, and we meet mainly the executive leadership team, but we like to involve as many employees as we can. We plot our direction, we develop our strategic initiatives for the year, and we develop the metrics we say we're going to execute throughout the year. Like I said, we try to involve everybody in those things. And the other thing with GW Lisk, especially the U.S. operations, is we have incentives for everybody, and we're a capitalist company, so we believe in in that type of incentive system. So we have profit sharing for employees here, and they also it's a portion of the company is ESOP, so it's employee owned.
Yeah.
And we continue to hone our ability to communicate to employees how their work, their effort contributes to the success of the company. And we keep drawing that connection between, if we all come in, give our best every single day, we'll have a good result. And you get, everybody shares in that good result.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
What do you guys do to recruit new people, new engineers, et cetera? Clifton Springs, I've been there. It's a lovely, lovely town, right? It's not a city, right? It's a town, lovely town, right? And but it's not the mecca. Like someone graduating, some of these top schools are not saying like, oh, when I grow up, I want to live in Clifton Springs, right? Like, so how do you recruit people? And I know that once they come, from what I understand, they love it and they stay. So what's some of the secret sauce of how you do that?
I think everybody's involved in the recruiting process, and the department managers, their employees, they're all part of that recruiting process. So I think we like to project a lifestyle, a work-life balance.
Yeah.
We're not crazy about working till 9, 10 at night. I mean, it We did work from home, especially during the pandemic. Now we've kind of drawn everybody back, but we're flexible with that too if somebody has a special need. And I think the products are exciting. The type of technology we're developing and encouraging our employees to push the boundaries, find out different ways to do things, and experiment a bit and find better ways for us to do things.
Yeah.
So, and we're close to Rochester. As you know, it's kind of not quite a bedroom community, but I live in Pittsford. I have a 30-minute commute, but it's an easy commute.
Yeah.
I think in general, it's a fairly easy place to get in and out of and get to and from. As well.
Well, and I think too, from what I understand is that you Lisk has really worked hard at investing in the community. Yeah. So it's a nice place to live, or at least when you're working there, to be, right? There's some shopping. There's a great restaurant that I believe you guys own, Warfield's, right?
We do.
And it's a very nice restaurant, right?
Yeah, it is.
And I've been there, and they have this salt bread that I eat like
Pizza
2 loaves
Bianca.
Every time I go.
Pizza Bianca, and it is for sale.
It is so delicious.
It is great, yeah.
And so once again, I'm going to make a parallel to Corning, where Corning has invested in the city of Corning, right? Because they want to make it a livable place, and it seems like you guys have done that with Clifton Springs as well.
For sure, and we continue to help out with the hospital, even though we don't have any ownership, but we certainly have a stake in having that hospital be successful. If you go through Clifton Springs, I mean, you mentioned Warfield's. We also own the Pierce Block storefront, where you'd have a hardware store. There's a flower shop there, a gift shop. We own the art museum there. Lisk was a major contributor to the renovation of the library there. And we continue to just be a strong supporter of the community. That's our thing, our employees, our community, our customers, right?
Yep. So, I mean, optimizing everything from your community to the new hires and everywhere in between.
Right, and Lisk does, we continue to contribute to all, many of the associated charities in the community too, to help them out.
That's great. Now, are you from the area? I believe are you from Michigan? Because I know you went to Michigan. University of Michigan.
A couple stops. After I graduated, we got married in '78, and I was working for a year before that in Chicago. Then I got an MBA at the University of Chicago and moved to St. Louis with today a large industrial company, Emerson Electric. And then Emerson still is an acquisitive company, bought a small company in Rochester. And I was a young MBA at the time, and part of my job was to help bring these companies on board. And I really liked the group here, and so did a corporate move in '86 and been here ever since.
Yeah, very good.
So I think that qualifies as a long-term residence.
You're a Rochesterian now.
Right.
It's funny. So Bob Duffy was on the show. He's currently president of the Chamber of Commerce, but former police chief, lieutenant governor, mayor, Mr. Rochester. Right. He always talks about how people from outside of Rochester, when they are told that they have to move to Rochester for work or school, whatever, they're kind of dreading it because all they know is like, oh, snow, right?
Snow,
but then so it's tough to get them here. But then once they're here, they don't want to leave, right? Yeah, and it happened to you, right? I mean, you probably had kids, became embedded in the community?
3 kids, all went through the school system here, and actually 2 came back and are actually living here now too. So 2 of our 3 kids, which I think might be unusual, but maybe not so much, because it is a great community for family. So many things to do. It's the area itself is just fantastic. You throw Finger Lakes, like Ontario, proximity to Canada, it's just
we're close to New York, Boston, Toronto,
New York,
right?
Driving to New York City.
Yeah, very cool. So what's next? I mean, you guys continue to grow. There's no slowing down. Where do you see GW Lisk in about 5 years?
Well, we will continue to grow. I think this strategy. If I boil it down, and we communicate to our employees every quarter about where we are, and one of the metrics is how we're executing strategy, right? But it's always about employee health and safety, about our operational excellence, a big focus on honing operations. We're a manufacturer. Scrap isn't good. Quality is utmost and important. Never can lose that formula. And then what do our customers think of us, right? Yeah. So it will be continue to execute that strategy. And now that we have this larger company, we're trying to harmonize all of our procedures and our pursuit of excellence, right? So get that under one roof. And then we have this bolt-on strategy where we still have needs we see as the market's evolving. We see needs for new type of technology, new products, new geographies. So we'll continue to acquire in a smart way.
Yeah, yeah. Right. What advice do you have for someone like you, but just starting out, maybe 15 years ago, and they're become CEO of a larger company, and they're projecting that they're confident and ready to go, but inside they're a little nervous about making sure they get everything right, managing the strategy, the people, the products, the balance sheet, right? Like looking back, what do you know now that if there was a young Ed, you would kind of whisper it in his ear, right?
I probably made a lot of mistakes in my career. Maybe those are the learning moments. But I think listening, especially to staff members. I mean, also paying attention to who you choose to have on your staff if you're a CEO, right? It makes a big difference. You have to have people you can rely on, people that aren't afraid to challenge me and bring up issues. The companies are people, right? Yeah. So they don't go. You can't really go any farther, any faster than the team that you have. So it's it all comes down to it's like I like to always think of good coaches in sports, right? How they do things, they get the team, and often you see the team not with the best marquee players, but with the best teamwork that win. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, bad news bears, right? Make it happen.
So it's it's about but working with your team, listening to them, motivating them, understanding what motivates different people have different buttons that motivate them. So I guess be aware, look for opportunities, be open-minded.
So with almost 1,500 employees or around 1,500 employees, how do you try to one man? How do you try to connect with all of them?
Well, we do, and it's, as you get international, it gets more difficult. We travel a lot, which is becoming easier, fortunately. But we there are tools now I think we didn't have many years ago, like the video conferencing. And in fact, this afternoon I have a one-on-one video conference with our managing director down in Costa Rica, Marco. Yeah. So it's. I think you have to have that one-on-one, especially with your staff and leaders, one-on-one time to connect, and private, so you can bring up the real issues and talk them through. Yeah. Right. You can't hide behind. If there's a problem, you got to fix it. Yeah. Got to get after it and fix it. It's better sooner than later.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so I would imagine with multiple locations, like you're saying from China to Ireland to south to Costa Rica.
Costa Rica.
Yeah. I would imagine internal communication, like a rhythm or cascading of internal communication becomes more and more important.
The strategy sessions are really key. We do those about once a quarter. We get everybody together. We did the last one down at the Island Components Group, the motor manufacturer down in Long Island. It was a little easier to bring the folks from Ireland and Costa Rica to New York, through the New York airport, so they can get direct flights. Yeah. We'll do one later in October. It'll be up here, because this is the headquarters in Clifton Springs, and the plant. Our facilities are quite extensive here, particularly some of the mechanization, machining we have. So we like to make sure everybody's aware of the capabilities because we help each other. Right?
Yeah.
We can't get something done in Long Island, likely we can get it done up here, vice versa.
Yeah, that's great. Now, do you run those strategic planning meetings, or do you have someone kind of facilitate things, or a combination?
It's a combination, and in fact, I was just been thinking about our agenda and spending a lot of time. I like to have a facilitator because then I can contribute. If I'm the facilitator, right, I'm more worried about what's the next thing I got to get to. So we do both. Yeah, we've used. Some of the lectures from RIT have been real helpful for us, actually. We have a connection there, but...
Yeah, that's great. Well, a lot of times, if you bring in an outside facilitator, they don't know a lot of things, right? That they can help you see things that maybe you don't see because you're in it, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we like that. Yeah.
Yeah, they might challenge you, be like, oh, I never thought about that because you're in it every day, right? So yeah, that's phenomenal. Well, great. So, what do you think is your superpower as a CEO? What do you think you do well, and what advice would you give current CEOs to just really maximize and optimize, their experience?
That's an interesting question. I don't view myself as having any superpowers, but I think it's maybe it's an interesting thing because it may be a combination of things. Being an engineer, I can talk technical, but I'm really aware of people and what they feel and how they feel within the company, right? So what do we? Our HR exec is one of our key execs, and she feels free to say, hey, this just, or we've got a blind spot here or there. So I think maybe as a combination of that technical side and the people management skills. I don't know if that's a superpower, but it's just, I think, something every CEO would understand, right? That you just can't go anywhere without your people on board.
Yeah.
On board, and
Yeah.
So.
Very good. Well, thank you for that. Yeah. Well, you're being modest. You obviously do have some superpowers because you're doing a great job for almost 10 years, continuing to grow the company. I'm sure. Thank you. I'm sure GW is very proud of you.
Yeah, I hope so.
You feel his spirit, right?
Yeah. We try. It's communication is it's an everyday task, right?
Yeah.
And you have to always think about how we get to address. And I have an open email that any employee can send me a concern, and I get a few of those.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And you guys are actually still a part of the land where GW Lisk actually built his first, building, or you're still there, right?
It's there.
Yeah.
If you go in the yellow house I mentioned at the beginning of our discussion is actually Drew's mother's house, Drew Morris's mother's house. So she was the owner after GW Lisk. So that house is what you see. Yeah. And then down below, if you go into our facility, past the entry door, we still have the original barn facade as part of the structure.
Yeah. So maybe you feel his spirit.
Yeah, and there's a picture of actually GW Lisk walking to that barn in a flood. Is the Sulphur Creek, which goes under our plant, flooded, and it hasn't flooded since I've been there, fortunately. But, But
knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
Now, who lives in the yellow house now?
Oh, we use that for visitors.
Okay.
If we have, for example, so we had a couple of our the new Prienzas, our new company down in Costa Rica. A couple of the business leaders were up, and they just stayed in those houses, and they have the easiest commute in the company.
So it's still the family. Yeah.
It's just the family. Yeah. So visitors would come in. Actually, when we'll have co-ops who come from out of state, and they can stay in some of the houses. We know a few of those houses. Right.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for what you're doing, and bringing this company to the next level, and continuing to make the Greater Rochester region even better and thriving. And you're employing a lot of people in this area. So thank you so much for what you're doing.
You're welcome, David, and thank you for having me today.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
People want to learn more about, maybe get in touch with you, or want to learn more about GW Lisk. What's the best way to get in touch?
I think through our website.
Okay.
They can just contact us through our website, and we're always interested in talking.
Yeah, just Google GW Lisk. I think you're the only thing that comes up, right?
Right.
So,
GW Lisk. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate you, and of course, wish you continued massive success.
Okay. Thank you, David.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for watching another great episode of The Optimized Show. I hope you all learned something. Feel free to get in touch with us. You can go to our website and get in touch, watch all the shows, learn more about what we do. And continue to try to optimize your business, your team. We're here for you. Thank you so much. Make sure you have a great day and stay awesome.